Good evening and welcome to our February 18th, February 18th.
Okay, Will can't see.
Oh, Will can't see. All right.
If Will can't see, nobody else can see.
I can see it.
Can you see it?
Yeah.
You're on like video? Okay, okay. Thank you. Sorry, go ahead.
No, again, welcome. Roll call, please.
Mayor Shemente,
Present.
Vice Mayor Sharado,
Present.
Councilmember Moncada,
President.
Council members Brolio and Behill are absent. Staff is present.
Thank you. Would you all please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Approval of the agenda. Steve, any changes?
No, sir, thank you.
Hearing no changes, is there a motion to accept the agenda as posted?
I'll make the motion.
Wasn't it? Yeah. Approve the agenda from there. Oh yeah, is there any public comment on the agenda? I'm sorry, hearing none.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
Any other comments or questions? Hearing none. Rose?
Sharado,
Aye.
Shemente,
Aye.
Moncada.
Aye.
Thank you.
Rose, is there anyone online besides Will?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. We're going to move on to public comment. The public may address the council on any item of public interest, not otherwise on the agenda, that is within the jurisdiction of the city. No action may be taken. Matters to be addressed may be referred to city staff or placed on a subsequent meeting agenda. And speakers are limited to 5 minutes per person. Would anyone like to make any comments? Any public present? Any public online? Rose?
Nobody's got their hand up.
Okay. Hearing no public comment, we'll move on to the consent agenda. There are 4 items. A is approval of draft minutes of January 21st. B is approval of draft minutes of January 29th. C is approval of draft minutes of February 4th. And D is AP checks and treasurer's report for January 2025. Would any member of the council like to pull an item?
Yes,
Okay.
sorry. I need to pull agenda, I think it is 5C. Hang on, let me make sure.
February 4th?
Wait, I had a comment on one of them. There was an incomplete sentence. Hang on, let me find it. Sorry. Okay. It is, sorry, 5B.
Okay.
5B is in boy?
5B is in boy.
Okay.
Jessica?
I'm good.
Any member of the public would like to pull an item? Any member online?
No.
Okay, we'll move on then for a motion to approve consent agenda item A, C, and D.
So moved.
I'll second.
Any-
Sharado? Oh,
Aye.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, any other comments? None? Okay, please, continue.
Sharado,
Aye.
Shemente,
Aye.
Moncada.
Aye.
Thank you.
Item B.
So item B under public, it was under the presentation given, Joel Metzger, under 5A, public comment. Brian Stetson spoke about the rate study and I think that's concerns he has for the individuals, councils, and speaks with. It just kind of trailed
Okay.
off. So I think there's some
We
missing
can pull it and I'll bring it
information.
back.
Great.
Okay? Thank you.
So now we'll move on to the regular agenda. Item A, rural recreation and
Yeah,
tourism programs. There she is. Amy.
Oh, yeah, no.
Mayor and council members, as you can see, the park is moving along, and at the last meeting, I did mention that April 2nd was the date at which our contractors were expected to demobilize. They did confirm that to us. We discussed hydro seeding. They think it can take a minimum of 2 weeks to establish. They have moved it up earlier in March so that technically you could walk on it as of approximately April 2nd. Did not intend for April 2nd to be a actual grand opening day, but as soon thereafter as we can, and we know if weather doesn't hold us up or anything, hopefully we would be able to move forward. After the park is done, we will still be putting in some park horse equipment and interpretive signs. We have approached Tractor Supply and asked them to donate doggy pots. We will find out if that will move forward. And right now, the only problem we are having is with the park lights and purchasing them from PG&E. They said, no, they don't sell those lights, which we discovered is not accurate. So we're going to be persistent then and proceed with purchasing those lights from them. Let's see, anything else? We're having to redo the rubber on the outdoor gym. Somebody walked on it before it was cured. So somebody got too excited. And as far as shade structures, we would like to live with the park for a little while for the playground to see exactly where it would benefit the most from a shade structure. In Murphy's, they did it for the slide specifically. And I was informed by a lady online that the American Academy of Dermatology does in fact give small grants for shade structures. They're very competitive, but we will be going for that. And we did release another newsletter. And I'd be happy to answer any questions other than, yes, they are putting something in the cement.
Oh,
Yes.
so Amy, when we talk about April 2nd as the opening date,
Not as the opening date, that is when our contractors are done.
they're done.
Yes.
Weather permitting.
Demobilizing, weather permitting.
So the opening of the park is going to be determined on the condition of the hydro seed then, or?
It will be up to you as to when you want to open it. What I would prefer is that we wait until April 2nd to make sure weather didn't delay anything and then set an opening date.
Okay. And is it possible to open the park and block off the hydro seeds so
If
that
necessary, yes.
kids
we
could?
Yes.
And do we know what the conditions have to be like when we hydro seed? That, you know, the temperature of the ground and moisture, or is it just they spray it and then sun comes out and?
That,
Okay.
Yeah,
So you don't want a torrential downpour right after you.
Right after
Or
it's
a
done a wash.
Yeah.
Yeah, you like paint.
because some of it will be slightly on slopes, so we don't want that. And they have to do some prep. They'll even things out and then hydro seed.
And the DI seemed to work. I drove by and that's good. The drainage is working. That's very good.
That is great.
Does anyone else have any questions?
Mine's more of a refresh my memory.
Yes.
The basketball court, when I
Yes.
look at that, is the lighting, is it going to be?
It's not going to be lit.
Okay, that was my question.
And yes, it will have 3 pickleball courts.
Okay, thank you.
Does any member of the public have any questions? Does any member online have any?
Janet has a question.
Oh, I'm sorry, Janet.
I do. Is there going to be any extra parking than what I see right there? Or is that the only parking we're going to have for the,
So believe it or not, the fact that we're doing this, actually, this is where it ends right now. This is actually adding parking here, and we're reconfiguring here. So you do actually get a little bit more parking. In addition, Napa is going to be turned into a parking structure, upper, downer.
okay,
So-
upper and downer?
Yeah.
Okay.
And that hump has been removed, correct? That was there by the bathrooms?
Yes, the bulb out has
The
been
bulb
removed.
has- And that's now handicap parking? Is that,
Handicap parking is actually located
oh, I see.
to the right of the bathrooms.
Right,
And
okay,
over by the kitchen.
okay. Right, okay.
Yeah, you can get around there a lot easier in a walker and a wheelchair now.
I have one more question. Can I?
Yeah, you bet.
Where is the exercise? Is that that small circle? Is that a?
This has
That'd be for
outdoor-
an adult?
It's adults, you can see there's a little canopy over
I
it
do.
right now in a circle. That's all outdoor exercise equipment as well as the park course, which comes around here. It actually goes all the way around here, and around here. It's a 1/4 mile. You can do 4 laps and get a mile. We'll be adding exercise stations around it.
Excellent.
we'll get you exercised.
They put a culvert in that walking path.
They did, at
And
the far
covered-
end.
Yeah,
Yeah, big one.
it's neat. Any other comments, questions? Please, Rose, anyone online?
No comment.
All right. Hearing none, we'll move on to item B, which is a public hearing. It's a second reading on ordinance 542, rezoning from business attraction and expansion to single-family residential. Amy?
Mayor and council members, this is the second reading of the ordinance. You have already done a general plan amendment to make this single-family residential. You've already done the first reading. We ask that you introduce, waive the second reading, and approve the rezoning to single-family residential, and a representative of the owner and applicant is here in case you have any questions. Ms. Kuslich, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Janet?
Hi, Jim. So we've received our staff report. We'll open up the public hearing. Does any member of the public present would like to make a comment about this project? Any member online, Rose? Is there a specific amount of time we're supposed to wait, Steve, before?
I don't think so.
Okay.
Will's online if you need to.
Pardon?
Will is online if you need.
Oh, okay. So, Will, did you hear, Will?
You're muted.
I'm here.
Will, is there any specific amount of time we have to keep the public hearing open if there aren't any comments from the public?
Is there any specific time that we have to keep the public comment open if there's nobody raising their hand or having any comments for public comment?
No.
Thank you. All right, then we will close the public hearing. It's just a second hearing, and so, Amy, as I understand it, we'll come back next month and?
Nope, this is your second hearing. We need you to make a
Okay,
motion
okay.
and approve it,
Perfect.
if possible.
So I will make the motion that we approve ordinance 542.
I will second.
Thank you.
Any other comments? Any other comments from the public? Anyone online? Hearing none, roll call.
Sharado?
Aye.
Shemente?
Aye.
Moncada?
Aye.
Thank you.
We're moving on to item C, approve resolution number 25-09, change order number 7 for Utica Park Lightner Mine expansion for the total cost of $27,582 to seal coat Utica Lane, parking areas, striped parking, and approve a budget adjustment.
Mayor and council members, please consider this resolution 2511, but Steve and I evidently really like 2509.
Oh, okay.
Sorry about that. So this would
Okay.
be 2511. This is actually in response to a request from council about repaving the entire thing, and that was $150,000. So we reinvestigated and found that if we did chip sealing and then resealed it, it'd probably look as nice. It'll extend the longevity of the parking area, and that was $26,582. Staff was requesting a $1,000 contingency in case we need to, so we don't have to come back to you in case we need to make some small changes. That's basically all this is. We are recommending that you use, I'll call it general fund / ARPA. I know ARPA is included in the general fund at this point. However, a reminder that ARPA money came from a completely different source than what your general fund monies. It wasn't from your taxes and your property taxes and your sales taxes.
So, Amy, the striping was included in Moyer's original bid, correct? Restriping of the parking lot?
We assume so.
Right. So, and this, for you folks, this came about with one of our city council didn't want to see a patchwork of asphalt out there, and thought that, how could we mitigate what that would look like aesthetically? And so we've been tossing around the fact that Chris's crew can crack seal, and then, do we just oil it to make it all look the same? I mean, is this something we want to table when we have 5, or you guys, I don't know how you feel, Caroline or Isabel, about spending the dollars? Can you, if we pull the map up, how much really is going to be new asphalt around the pavilion and that, correct?
If you can put down the site plan, I can show you.
Okay.
Hold on a minute. And I was told that this should extend the durability of that parking surface
Or
area.
if we oil it,
If we
seal it, crack seal it and then oil it?
Yes.
Okay.
Because then we won't have little cracks and stuff that water's going to
Right,
get in
right.
and blah, blah, blah.
Tell me when is it?
The site plan, yeah. It would go to, here you go, sorry, no, back up.
Back up.
It would be to the report item that was number 1. And while we're doing that, I'll explain, it'll be from Sam's Way, and then all the way up and
All the way
around.
That would include Sam's Way?
Or
just the parking lot
From the bottom
from
of
Sam's
Sam's
Way?
Way,
Okay.
all the way
All the
to
way.
everything that's got paving and such in it.
Page 21, Lois.
There you go.
Okay, let me do that. There.
So basically from here, all this, all that, and all that would all be redone.
But the new
And what-
parking lot's new asphalt, correct?
This would be, yes.
That's all new, okay.
That's new.
So it wouldn't, they're gonna
So-
stripe it, but they don't need to, they're not gonna oil seal it, they're not gonna crack seal it, or, They shouldn't have to.
They shouldn't
No,
have
but
to
things
press it.
like in here where they're gonna join them together.
Yeah.
They'll be doing crack sealing. Here where they did a bunch of cuts and stuff, they'll be doing that. There were several, they did a bunch of cuts and stuff in here in order, so there'll be lots and lots of crack sealing around here, around here, around here. And then redo. I don't know if you had a chance to go down there, but with all the equipment that's been in and out, it'd be pretty tough to see, if nothing else, where the stripes are.
Chris, do you have a comment or recommendation?
No, we can get the crack sealing done, and then they can come in behind us and do their soil seal, shouldn't be a problem.
It is currently included in the timeline, and we would still be able to stay on schedule at this point if we were able to tell them to proceed. To delay it, I don't know what that would do to the timeline.
That was going to be one question.
And does anyone from the public have a comment regarding this item?
I do. Aesthetically, you're going to be looking at a brand-new park, right? And everything is just going to be really right up par.
Yeah.
And so how much was it?
27,
$27,000.
And what's the other number? What was
Close to
it?
150.
100 and something thousand.
How much money do you have left from
None.
that grant?
This
None.
would be
Oh,
an
there's
addition.
This
none.
is additional.
Yeah, this,
This is coming out of general fund. And I agree with you, we're putting in this beautiful park, and we should have a nice looking parking lot, so that it kind of pulls it all together.
I think
It's just,
that's
I'm exhausted
You're exhausted.
by this, but we're at the tail end, and this is hopefully the last ask of funding, we're hoping, again.
Yeah.
well, this was a council.
This was council.
Yeah, this was a council.
This is a
So we
council
wanted to know
request.
how much it would cost to redo the entire thing properly, but we can't afford that, so this is the chipper chicken.
Well, yeah, and I think what it does do is it blends in the new with the old.
Yes.
And it crack seals.
And
so
it will
it's
make
all
it
gonna
look cohesive, and it'll make it look
Yeah.
nice with the park. So.
And it will extend the life of the asphalt because we are sealing it, so.
Yeah.
I agree with everything you're saying, and I think that we need to put that crack seal machine, we spent a lot of money on
Yeah.
it,
Yeah,
so
and
let's
it-
put it to
Put it to
use.
work. Yeah.
Well, it's been to work.
It's
Oh, good.
Does any other citizen have a comment? Anyone online, Rose?
No.
Okay, we can bring it back for this one, like to make a motion.
Sure, I'll make the motion to approve, is it resolution 2511?
I will second.
Any other comment? Any other comment from the public, either here or online? Hearing none, can we have roll call, please?
Sharada?
Aye.
Shemente?
Aye.
Moncada?
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay. Item D, 6D, approve resolution number 25-08, accepting the Birdsway Engineers observation. Steve?
Okay, thank you. Good evening, Mayor and council members. Before you tonight is a request to consider approval of a resolution which accepts the city engineer's report during his observations of work that was done by city staff in response to a concern from a citizen on some divots or indentations or depressions in the roadway on Birdsway. So as a result of the citizen concerns, staff went out and spent basically an entire day with about 4, 5, 6 crew members and excavated areas that were depressed in the roadway, dug down in an attempt to determine are the depressions in the roadway something that is as a result of city's responsibility, or is it just naturally occurring? The real goal was try to determine why these depressions occurred. And city requested that our city engineer be there and present so that he can see with his own eyes what's going on underneath the asphalt. And as a result of that, he prepared a report. He's prepared to give you a summary of that report or answer any questions that you have on it.
Thank you for the introduction and the summary there, Aaron Bristory, City Engineer. I can go in a long dissertation or an abbreviated version. I'm kind of curious as to how far to go into this. Essentially, we went out there. There was some settling of some patches that were made in the Birdsway sometime in the past. We saw cut those, excavated underneath there, looked at the soils. There was nothing distinguishing about the soils which would indicate that they were put back in an errant manner. I think my conclusion was the asphalt that was placed over time had settled just as a course of not getting appropriate compactive effort on it to start initially. So there wasn't a lot of the soils beneath the patches where the settlement had been observed was no different than the soil that was to the south of it. We hydro excavated that and looked at it. The soil was the same, which again, not again, sorry, I didn't say it before, but the asphalt that was beyond the patches did not show settlement. So therefore, my conclusion was the asphalt that was placed above those patches previously is what had settled over time, and that's common.
Because there wasn't any compaction of the substrate.
Not the substrate or the asphalt.
Or they, okay. Yeah.
So the asphalt, if you put like a fresh mat of asphalt down that's 3 inches thick and you compact it, depending on how much compactive effort you put into it, it'll consolidate it. You know, it's supposed to compact together.
Okay.
So if you're using a vibra plate, or a jumping jack, which is a small piece of equipment, typical on a public works crew, you can get so much compaction in there. If you have a bigger piece of equipment that's heavier, it's going to compact it more. So if you're just going over it with a vibra plate or a jumping jack, or even just a hand tamper, they got like a shovel, it's got like a 10-pound weight on it, which is probably what may have been used. It will compact it a little bit. Garbage trucks going over it over time will continue to consolidate.
So was the asphalt that compacted?
Yeah, that's my assessment. Yeah.
Thank you. Any council comments? Any
Just,
public?
it was a great report.
Yeah, I did too.
Thank you, I
Yeah.
appreciated it.
Thank you. Any public comments? Rose, anyone online?
No.
I make a motion to approve resolution 25-08.
I'll second.
Any other comments from council? Any comments from public? Here or online, Rose? Hearing none? Roll call, Rose?
Sharada?
Aye.
Shemente?
Aye.
Moncada?
Aye.
Thank you.
Moving on to item E, approve resolution number 25, oops, it can't be 09, right?
That one is 09.
Oh,
That
this one
is
is 09, okay. Boundary Lane Extension Preliminary Grading Project.
Okay, thank you again, Mayor. Before you tonight, request to approve a resolution 2509 which is authorizing the city through the city engineer to complete the preliminary grading plan for a portion of Foundry Lane extension. As you know, the extension of Foundry Lane has been in the works since about the year 2000. It's been a long time coming. There's finally been a little bit of movement on it. And part of what needs to be done is, the intent of this is to connect Highway 49, Highway 4 to Highway 49 as a secondary access to either direction. We're at the point now where it would be beneficial for the city engineer to develop a plan for about the first half of that road, starting on the south side, starting on the Highway 4 side, and extending in a northeast direction up to about the halfway point. So along with that, Caltrans has now committed to a plan. One of the things that has held this up is that Caltrans needs to do an appraisal of one of the properties. They have completed that appraisal, which again was a long time coming. We've been waiting for this. They have committed to a schedule which includes completing the appraisal and then taking it through the rest of the process, which ultimately will result in the recording of a deed, they estimate, by June 6th of this year. So since there's this commitment from Caltrans, staff also met with some property owners right at the south side of that area to make sure that information is conveyed in terms of where we want to place that road and why we want to place that road in that particular. There's, the city engineer can speak more about it, but there's certain angles and the way that that road has to connect to Highway 4 and the way that that road has to connect to 49 requires that it follows a certain grade and a certain path. So the city engineer has put together an estimate of what it would take for him to complete that preliminary grading plan, and it is within budget. The estimate is $31,500. There is sufficient budget in your approved fiscal year 24-25 to get this done, but I just wanted to bring it to you, number one, to let you know that there's some movement being made on this project, and to ensure that you are aware and approve of the work that the city engineer would do for the preliminary grading plan. And again, he's here if you have any detailed questions about it.
So Aaron, what role will Caltrans play in this, with this project?
They will approve, Caltrans' role, they will approve the encroachment onto State Route 4, where Foundry Lane Extension meets State Route 4. They have jurisdiction over that. And they will review it, make sure that the grades coming into that, lines of sight, visibility coming in and out of there are achieved to their standards.
So will they be working with the shopping owners too, shopping center owners for another, I mean, I keep hearing about another entrance.
Another entrance. So I think that's what I will be working on.
Okay.
So the Foundry Lane extension will come off. Right now there's a gate and there's a little paved access.
Right.
So right there is where the road, Foundry Lane extension will start, and it'll extend to the north side of Tractor Supply. So right now what we're trying to do is determine the grades, the lines and grades we call it, of that road, so that way when the private development comes on board, they would like to connect. I think this is the second connection that you're speaking to. They would like to be able to connect from, through Starbucks, the I think CVS, Round Table, come through there. They plan to have another several shops and then connect to the Foundry Lane extension, whereby they will be able to connect to State Route 4 and eventually State Route 49. So the task before me right now is to develop, we call them 30% plans, where we're establishing what grades that road should be at so that we can get, meeting Caltrans's design standards, we can get through the commercial property. There's a convenient place to stop on the north side of that where our grades start to come back down again, so that if we perform this design in a vacuum, it could significantly hinder the ability to develop that private parcel. And that's not the city's intent. The city if they're gonna develop that, we want to maximize the tax revenue opportunities for that center, so we want them to be compatible. So right now, we would design that road and look towards the existing development that's up there and try to find convenient grades to come across there, which will not preclude, sorry, I keep hitting the microphone, which will not preclude that development in the future. So that is a task before us.
Thank you. Any other questions from council?
No, thanks for the
Any other
clarification.
questions from folks present regarding this item? Rose, any online?
No.
Okay, hearing none. Do we have a motion?
I'll make the motion.
A second.
Any other questions? Any other comments from public? Rose, either online or here?
No.
Hearing none, may we have roll call, please?
Sharado?
Aye.
Shemente?
Aye.
Moncada?
Aye.
Thank you.
It's exciting.
Thank you.
It is very exciting. Moving on to item F, approved resolution number 2510, authorizing the release of construction documents for bidding for City of Angels Mark Twain Water System Improvement Project. Dave, or do you want David?
No, please.
Okay. Mr. Mayor, City Council, we're here this evening. Rose, can you put up the...
Thank you, Aaron.
Thank you.
There you go, Dave.
Oh, there we go, perfect. We're here this evening requesting authorization to release for bids, construction drawings for the Mark Twain Water System Improvements Project. This is a project that was as part of the city CIP that was approved last year. I have the diagram up there just to try to illustrate. We are looking at approximately 2,000 feet of new water line near the Mark Twain School, on Stanislaus, on Oneida, and on all three of those streets in that area, as well as a tie-in to the water line on Mark Twain Road itself. This project is intended to eliminate dead ends on our water lines that are in that area, and it's a high priority project from the public works standpoint, because anytime that there's an issue in that area where they have to shut off the water, they end up having to shut off the water for many more residents than if we, on a dead-end line, than if we have an ability to loop that line around the area. And that it's also a project that allows us to upsize or replace a lot of older, smaller pipelines, improve the delivery pressures up there during the summer. And as I say, it's a project that we had planned as part of the CIP in that. We are looking at a timeline of about 150 days to build this project. Probably will end up significantly less than that. We timed this project so that essentially it would be construction that would be occurring during the late spring and summer. We are right in front of Mark Twain School, and if you've ever stood on any of those streets on Stanislaus or Oneida or Pacific, you know that when it's time for our babies to be picked up or that, people are going, well, they're in a hurry. They're in a hurry in that, and so we'd like to get all of our construction done outside of the school year and the like in that. So there is a correction that I wanted to make in the documents that we submitted in that. There is in the instructions to the bidders in that, we've indicated that we would be that this project is to be bid on March 11th, and then we, in time to come back to the council on March 18th in order to get an approval of the construction contract and that. That's not what it says in here. It shows us coming back to the council like 3 weeks ago.
Yeah.
And so we'll make that correction before the documents actually go out. So this is, as I say, this is one of the CIP projects that we've been working on over the last couple of months, and it will create a lot of benefits to that part of the community in terms of the water service.
Any council members have any questions?
Just a clarification, so we are looking at once school gets out to start that.
That's,
process.
I mean, that, we're going to coordinate that with the contractor on that, but if all goes as planned, basically the contractor wouldn't get his notice to proceed until mid-April, and is probably not going to have his materials on site until later in May. And we can certainly organize it so that he is working in an area that doesn't impact the traffic picking up the, going to and from school. But we will also coordinate that ultimately with the school administrator, just to be
Yeah,
sure
but
that.
do they get out the same day as the high school?
I think so,
Which
right?
is May 30th.
Right. So I think they get out before June 1st.
And when will we notify property owners in that area? How
Um,
does that work?
Well, the contractor is part of the contractor's responsibility is to do that, but I said, it's very easy for us to put something up, and actually get something going sooner than later, and to let everybody know that that's the, that is the plan. We encountered as we were doing our work, we were in the field a fair amount, and we encountered a number of people asking us, walking around in that, and so they have a number of people have a pretty good idea of what's going to happen in that, but we'll definitely put something out, to let individuals know. Part of this work is as we're putting the new water lines into these streets, we're going to reconnect or disconnect and reconnect all of the services to the homes in that, and so there will be a little disruption in that respect. As part of that work, but that's something that we can manage with the residents of there.
So Dave and Chris, I have a question. Is it possible to tie, where the other project we're working on is automatic meter readers? And when you reconnect, are you reconnecting to the meter itself?
No.
Or you're just reconnecting to the line
Just
and
the
the,
main line, yeah.
as it comes out? So we couldn't do both at the same time with this project, with the connections that we're talking about?
I'm sure that could happen, but it would be at an extra cost.
Well, but I'm just thinking, yeah, I understand, but I mean, we're also letting that contract go out, correct, Steve, at some point, for the automatic meter readers to have those installed?
Yeah, that will be a different contract.
Right, right. Well, I mean, they couldn't work simultaneously, you don't think? And it's okay to say no.
They could, but the plan with the with the automated meter readers is we're gonna purchase all of the automated
Right.
meter reader hardware and software, and then go out for bid to a contractor to then install those somewhere down the road. We don't even have all the meter readers yet. We may have them by June, so it might be possible.
Okay, just curious. And then,
It's not something, how to say this, it's something that certainly can be done. It just takes an extra level of coordination.
Right.
Because the city is furnishing the meters for the contract. So, if all goes well, certainly that could work, but it's just another level of complexity,
okay.
particularly when you're trying to, you're trying to get this work done within a certain period of time. So there's no reason why we can't do it, other than it's just meters have to be available.
Right, right. I was just curious when I read the documents.
I mean, it's certainly, if we had the meters now, it would definitely make sense as we're reconnecting
Right.
services and that to be doing that work.
So, Chris, I have a question about the boil water notices. So, is that going to happen a lot because of, or is it?
It's a possibility, but when you're putting new pipe in the ground, typically there's protocols for that, so
Okay.
everything gets disinfected ahead of time. But there will be testing. I don't necessarily know that we will do boil water notices. It just depends on how that happens. Like I said, they'll set up and they'll put backflow prevention device and chlorinate everything before they make it live. And we'll do the back-key testing on it before the customers start using it.
And then, Dave, I have another question.
Can I amplify
Yeah,
this
you sure can.
answer for a second on that?
What
Because it's a very good, it's part of the process in that and
I
that.
read
So
that.
we set this up in terms of a sequence. If you can just kind of picture, you have all these pipes that are going to go into the ground. They have all these pipes that are going to go into the ground. And then at some point, we're gonna reconnect or we're gonna make connections for these pipes to the existing system. And then at some point, we're gonna reconnect the services in that. The way we've lined this out sequence-wise is, okay, you put the pipes in, you do the testing, you flush, you pressure test, and you basically get them, and you do your back T, and you're making sure that everything is good before you touch the existing system. And then when you go to make that connection in that, then, you know, you end up having to, the pressure, you shut down that system, and then we're into that very short period of boil water. But we want to make sure that before we're doing any of that, contractors doing it, that everything else is good to go, is good to go. And then when they do reconnect the services in that, there's another disinfection process that they go through just to make, they're swabbing it and that, just to make sure that at the end of the day, it's good. You know, when the water comes back through the system, you know, there aren't any issues in that. But this construction project is going to end up taking Chris some time, just because when it comes to the back T and the water quality of the system, as a city, we're responsible for it. The contractor can put things in, but at the end of the day, the reports that we submit has got his name on it. So.
I truly appreciate the work that you were doing, Steve and Chris, in moving our CIP projects forward. For the members of the public that are here and online, these are dollars that have been collected over the last 4 years, but because of a number of reasons, COVID and a variety of reasons, we weren't able to allocate dollars to upgrade our water and sewer system. The council, you say about 6-8 months ago, we developed about almost $9 million of CIP projects of a balance. We have about $20 million to spend. And as Dave mentioned, when we did the CIP project, those dollars, the project's dollars that were allocated were based on 5 or 10 years ago, so we have a cushion if things cost more. But we discussed and determined 5 or 6 major projects that needed to be done, and we're starting to tick them off our list. We did Booster Way, we're doing this one. And I'm just curious about the status of the other projects. I mean, I know we had a heavy rainfall. I said to Chris with the I&I, is the Murphy's Grade new water system and that project, is that coming soon?
It is. Go ahead, Dave.
Yes. So there are a number of projects. That are in the queue.
Okay.
That are in the queue. As we move these projects forward, it is becoming very apparent that some of them I hate to use I'll just use it. We're playing in the same sandbox with some of these projects and that. And it, sometimes we slow down on a project that we thought we were going to get out at a certain point because we run into some other, not issues in that, but we realized that, oh my goodness, let's not do this project and then come back in 6 months and say I'm digging the ground up again for a
Right,
second
because there's
project.
2 projects that you could deal with Murphy's Grade
exactly.
for sure at the same time.
Yes, you're absolutely right. So a lot of the projects, they're the critical infrastructure protection project that we finally have gotten an indication of funding through FEMA in that. That's a classic project that at the end of the day we have 3 different improvements that occur essentially in that Main Street, Vallecito, Birds Way area, and we're really struggling a little bit to sort all of those out. And Steve's going to talk to you here in a minute, about one of those reasons that we've sort of stopped a little bit was because we've got another project, I think a project that people would more appreciate than necessarily new water lines and new sewer lines. I don't know why, but people like to ride a bike on a trail instead of that. But in any event, so some of those projects are moving along. The water meter project that Chris has got, we're right on the cusp. We have documents ready to go. Just procure that contractor once the meters are, decision is made on the meters and that. There is a lot of things in play. And so we're moving along. And we're gonna come back to you later this year, or later this fiscal year, with other projects
Good.
that aren't necessarily on the CIP, because, you know, we've been working in areas and we find, oh my goodness, we have a problem over here, we have a problem over here, and part of that is being driven by people are excited, they wanna build here in town. They wanna build in town, and so we're kind of finding from their inquiries and that's something that, you know, we just didn't really know about, or we probably should have known about. Now we're seeing those problems, and we don't want to stop people from being able to build. We have to fix some of those problems in that. So we'll be back with not a big new, large list, but there are certainly some areas that are going to deserve some additional attention. And our goal, more than anything else on those projects, is trying to reduce I&I. At the end of the day, trying to reduce I&I, because it's a problem at the plant, and it's something that, you know, we're not going to get any money from the state. We're not going to get any money from the state if you don't fix to do work at the wastewater plant, unless we fix the I&I problem.
And we're hoping if we fix that I&I problem, that other CIP project to expand the capacity
The wastewater plant.
in the wastewater plant, it may, I mean, I don't know.
Dave alluded to that. The state probably will not allow us to expand that plant anymore until we fix the I&I.
But if we fix the I&I problem, is expansion still necessary, do you think, or would that be?
Not at this time.
Not at this
But
time.
that plant was designed with expansion in mind,
In mind.
so a lot of that
Okay.
work's already done. It's just putting the infrastructure in to allow it to happen. But like all the concrete and dirt work, all that stuff was done when we originally designed that plant. So it was designed for expansion. But like I said, we won't get any funding from the state if we don't start addressing the I&I first.
So I'll throw this in, I'll just throw this out. I've been designing wastewater treatment plants for 47 years. And the plant that we have here in Angels is not a plant that does well with high I&I,
No.
with peak flows. And so the ability, you know, can't let Chris leave. The ability to maintain that, monitor or manage that plant and keep it running and meeting the requirements. The requirements are going nowhere but down, or more stringent. That's a hard plant to do, you know, and so it's a case that the more that we can reduce the I&I, the more, you know, we make it easier to meet our discharge requirements in that.
So Dave or Chris, just for our audience, would you just explain what I&I is and make sure it's rainwater that enters our sewer system? It's like if you go by the high school across from the baseball field and stadium, those two pipes that are sticking out of ground in the field across, well, when the water rises, that water then goes into our sewer system. And
So
infiltrates.
you have two, that's what's referred, okay, so I'm going to split hairs for a second.
Go ahead,
Okay.
you're the expert.
I'm going to split hairs. The water that gets in through openings and that, through open grates, through cross connections from the storm drain, and we still find those again. That's referred to as inflow.
Inflow.
Okay, infiltration, and that's where we've got the even bigger problem, is when we have the underground pipes, when they start to fail, when they start to leak, when the joints move apart, and you get groundwater that's getting in. And that's a harder thing to deal with. That's a harder thing to deal with than the inflow, but that's what's happening, is we have a very high infiltration and inflow rate. And we find that out. How do we determine that? That's when we come to council and say we want to CCTV this sewer and that sewer. You'd be amazed at what you see on those tape. You see water coming in. You see this and you say, oh gosh, we have to fix that. So, didn't mean to.
No, thank you. I appreciate your time that you're spending with us. Any comments from council? Any comments from the public? Rosie, any comments online? Hearing none, is there a motion to approve?
I'll make the motion to approve resolution 2510.
I'll second.
Any other discussion from our public? None, roll call.
Sharada?
Aye.
Shemente?
Aye.
Montalban? Aye. Thank you.
Okay, moving on to item G, approving a professional service agreement extension of time with Dewberry.
Okay, thank you, Mayor. Next item is a request to approve an agreement which serves as a 2-year extension. Kind of what Dave was talking about, playing in the same sandbox. The next project on the list was supposed to be the Vallecito, after we completed Booster, we were going to move on to the Vallecito sewer replacement plan, and then to the East Angels sewer replacement plan. And when we got to a certain point, when Dave got to a certain point on the Vallecito project, it was recognized within his office that there was another project managed by a different person in the same office named Jose Silva that is working on the Angels Creek Bicycle and Pedestrian Trail. And that's an above ground thing that's going to overlap an underground thing. So in order to finalize the Vallecito sewer replacement plan, this project manager needs to talk with this project manager, the underground project manager needs to talk with the above ground project manager, so that we don't duplicate things, so that we don't complete work only to have to tear it up and do something different on the big project above ground, for which we have now FEMA dollars to deal with. The problem is the Angels Creek Bicycle and Pedestrian Trail, the contract for Dewberry to complete that work expired in December. So we can't have this project manager talk to the Vallecito project manager unless we extend that agreement. So along with the extension of that agreement, Dewberry has committed to a timeline, which you'll see in your packet, that is on page 4 of my packet, but it's kind of task by task what we can expect. And it's not a hard timeline, but it's something that we can visually see and get an idea of how long this project is going to take. It talks about starting right now, February of 2025, and being complete around January of 2029.
Yeah.
So it's an item-by-item list of things that needs to happen on the Angels Creek Trail Bicycle and Pedestrian Plan that's going to overlap the work being done underground for the Vallecito and the East Angels. So before you tonight is a request to extend that contract with Dewberry, which expired in December of 2024, for an additional 2 years so that that work can continue at the planning level. And again, Dave Richards here, if you have any specific questions about the Dewberry portion of it.
The trail project has been in environmental review or development environmental documentation for several years. And to be honest, we lost track of it on our side of the building. If you ever come to our office, there's 2 sides of the building, and we're water people on one side and roadway people on the other. And we do talk to each other a lot, but that project just sort of we weren't aware of it until we really got into detail. I shouldn't say weren't really aware. We didn't understand the footprint of that project until more recently, when we were finalizing the Vallecito's plans, and I think Amy reminded us to check on the trail project just to be sure there wasn't any conflict in that. And that's when we realized that there was some work that we needed to do to shift our project a little bit to avoid. I apologize on behalf of myself for not being more due diligent on understanding the timing and the footprints of that Angels Creek, the bike trail. It's a great project. I missed it that there was, we were playing in the same sandbox down basically at the end of the trail. So we'd like to get this extension. There's some critical work that needs to be done on the trail project. Critical hydraulic study that needs to be done of the creek to make sure that if we have to make any adjustments in the footprint of the trail project, that is done. And then we're able to initiate detailed design for the trail project. We don't have to wait, once our roadway people are working back on this project, we don't have to wait at that point we will coordinate our project, the Vallecito Road sewer project, and we'll be back with that project to you later this spring. But we just, at this point, we are looking for an extension of our trail project so that, again, we can do a much better job of coordinating as Steve has outlined.
So Amy and Dave, was there an expectation that we talked about with the public that this trail project would take this long, or it was just a project and then we go about filling, dotting all the i's and crossing the t's? I mean,
Well, I think that wasn't the major issue environmental on this?
The
The environmental took
Okay.
forever.
Has held us up.
okay.
Yeah, so we deferred some funding for a while. and
Right, we did
now we're
defer it
ready
from
to-
COG. We
Yes.
did.
To keep proceeding.
So, so it sounds like now, about 3 years from now, that project should be completed then, according
Well, it
to,
should begin
begin,
in 20.
yeah, begins in 2028.
Yeah.
And how long is the project, do we know?
Through 20.
Which, does it say? I just missed it?
It's construction-wise, it's probably a year or more,
Yeah, I think
Okay.
it's 29.
something on that order and that. There's since it's getting funding and that from, the feds and that, there's a lot of steps that we have to step through. A little more than necessarily if it was just simply a city project of that. So a lot of that there was a lot of environmental work that was done. You're going through a historical district, it's just, anything that could come up has come up in that process and that. And I think we're finally through that. But what came out of that process is that we are going to have to do some more engineering as it relates to the creek. We are looking at having to get approvals from FEMA as it relates to the creek, because we've got to go through an analysis and that. And that's really going to be the balance of the work on that project this upcoming year, is to get that hydraulic study done.
How long is that study take?
We're looking at something six to 8 months to do the hydraulic.
Oh, so it's starting in April.
Yes,
Because
yes, we will have.
Application submitted to FEMA by late April 2025. That's not.
Well, yeah, when I say 6 to 8 months, the actual number crunching and that takes several, 2 to 3 months, but then it's a process of sending it through to FEMA and that. There's a little bit of iterative work. This is the design, let's run through the numbers, does that have an impact? Yes, it does, then we revise the design on that. So there's a little bit of iterative process during that time.
Is it from the Angels Power all the way down?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So we're
Yes.
on track. Okay.
Any other questions?
Well, I think it's important that we extend this so we can keep it going,
Yeah.
considering
I
it's been
agree,
held up
so
for
we-
so long.
Well, it looks like our overall contract with Dewberry is up for renewal on June, wait, what is it, this year? 2025?
No.
This year, June 2025.
Oh, yes, that's our, are you-
For on-
The big-
The big one that we have with
The parent
them.
contract, yes.
okay, I don't mean to get confused, but the trail project is a different contract than the work that we do.
Correct, so the one with you is up for renewal in June 2025, correct? That's what I
It
think I
may
read.
be.
I think I read that. Okay. So what we're trying to do is get you guys on this, kind of on the same timeline? Or at least,
We're
I don't
trying to
know.
just get this one going.
Just get this one
because it's
going.
been fell
We
off
just
for
need,
so long.
we would like the separate the contract that we currently, or that expired, we'd like to have that extended so we can be working on the trail project. All of the water and wastewater work that we do for you, obviously, we'd like to have the,
Yeah, but that's something we'll talk about at another.
So the reason why
Yes.
they're not talking is because the contract for the trail project has expired.
Correct.
And we want to extend that.
But there's work in the same sandbox
Right,
that has
yeah,
to
yeah,
happen. So when we
right,
extend
right.
this contract, essentially, we're gonna have to look at the one in June.
In June.
So,
Okay, any?
But the goal is that by extending the contract on the trail side, we currently have the contract on the water and wastewater side, that we will come back to you before June.
Yes.
Here's the, similar to what we did tonight, here are bid documents for the Vallecito Road sewer project. That's our goal, is to get back there before the current on-call contract expires. And hopefully at that point, you'll extend our contract for another 3 years.
Any other comments from council? Any public? Rose, is there a motion? I'll make a motion to approve the extension.
Did you get my second, Rose?
Yep.
Any other comments? Public? Hearing none, roll call.
Sharada?
Aye.
Shemente?
Aye.
Moncada?
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay, we're moving on to item H. Do we want to take, we're good? Want to take a break, move on? Okay. Moving on to item H, approving an agreement between the City of Angels and PG&E for PG&E's use of approximately 15 acres at 2600 Highway 49, Angels Camp.
Okay, thank you, Mayor, and thank you for being here.
Thanks, Dave.
So the next item on the agenda, Mayor and council members, is a request to approve an agreement between the City of Angels and PG&E. This was agendized about a month ago, and it was pulled from the agenda because there was a concern from the police department on the placement of the area that was identified for PG&E's use. So we've now made sure that police and Public Works both agree on this location. And the way this came about is in about September of this year, PG&E representatives approached the city saying that PG&E anticipates a long-term, perhaps 3-year project for upgrading their transmission lines in the area. And they identified the land that the city owns at 2600 Highway 49 as the ideal location to store their equipment, establish a landing zone for their helicopter, and generally just serve as like a base camp as they complete this project over the next 3 years. So staff went out, walked the field with PG&E, looked at a couple of different areas, and ultimately identified the area that you see before you today as something that will fit PG&E's needs while not interfering with the city's operations. The property that we're talking about, I think is about a little over 200 acres in total, and it's currently under a use agreement with a local cattle farmer, and that agreement expires July 31st of this year, and the primary benefit of that agreement is that it provides for vegetation control so it doesn't become overgrown. The area that PG&E, that we've identified for PG&E in blue, will be fenced so that the cattle, if we choose to extend the agreement for cattle grazing or get into any other agreement for some types of animals out there, the animals will be prevented from entering the area that PG&E will use as their storage and landing zone area. The rate that PG&E has agreed to is for $1,750 a month for 3 years, which totals $63,000 over the 3-year period. And not sure if we have a representative from PG&E online or in the audience.
I have a colleague online who's on the project team.
Okay.
Trevor, and then
Okay. Yeah. Trevor's online if you have any questions for the PG&E staff, and I'd be happy to answer any questions you have as well.
So the first question I have, and I looked through the agreement, is I think we need a clause in our contract about closing fences when you go through them. Or, I'm sorry, not fences, gates. Because there was an issue with Highway 49 when you guys are with your substation, that those gates were open, there were cows in the field, and those cows ended up on the highway. So I'd like something in writing stating that PG&E understands and is going to be responsible for when they open a gate and they go through it, they close it behind them.
Understood. Thank you for bringing that up. If you see on the map, The area in, I think that's a bluish color, is where PG&E would be. You see the orange line that leads from the south side of that down to Whittle Road, and then the orange line from the north end of that that leads up to Highway 49. Another option would be to eliminate that north orange line that leads up to Highway 49 so that the only entrance and exit would be off of Whittle Road, and that road would actually be fenced, so that it would be an independent, they control the gate, cows wouldn't be affected coming in and out, that's their only way in, and that's their only way out, and that entire roadway from Whittle Road up to the blue area would be fenced, as well as the area itself, and that would eliminate the issue of leaving a gate open, because if they left the gate open, cows or animals or whatever is in there couldn't get out.
Is this agreement one that our legal team came up with, or did their team come up with it and our legal team reviewed it?
Correct. So PG&E presented the agreement to us, so it's their agreement, and we ran it through our legal department.
How often are helicopters going to land and leave that site, do you think?
Project manager Trevor can answer that.
Okay.
Trevor?
Trevor, were you able to hear that?
Yeah, I did hear that. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, I think that's a really good question. I don't have the precise answer for you at this time. I can certainly get back. You know, initially when we used this year, there would be no helicopter flying. I think most of the helicopter flying would be next year. I don't really have a good answer on the exact number though, so I'd like to maybe take that back to the flying team and report back to you. You know, I would anticipate sort of heavy work windows and then pauses. What that looks like in terms of how many per day, I'm unsure.
And then, Trevor, have you established a flight plan for how the helicopters are going to come in and how they're going to exit the property?
So same sort of answer. I will bring that up to the line crew who will be operating the landing zone for helicopters, and I'll get you a sort of a flight plan that we have determined and an approximate number on a per day, per week basis.
And then my last question is, have you ever been in a similar situation where you have a landing pad that's surrounded with animals grazing, etc.?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, it's fairly common. We have a couple, I mean, approximately 4 to 5 already on the mountain up there with private landowners, many of which are grazing lands. Typically the cows don't really, you know, they get used to the flying, but, you know, as a backup, we do have the fencing option, which will prevent any issues there.
Okay. Any other council members have any questions?
Yeah, mine would be, as far as any vegetation within the area that you're using, you're gonna take care of that since we won't have cattle grazing.
Correct, yeah, all the vegetation's on us in there.
Isabel, any questions?
I, just in reviewing this, and I know legal already reviewed it, but because it just says property owner at the beginning and doesn't list like City of Angels, does that need to be included? And also, in this letter, there's a lot of angles rather than angels, just heads up. I'm just curious, most agreements that and not that I'm super well versed in this, or a real estate agent or anything of that sort, but most of the times the property owner in that first paragraph is specified, as it would say City of Angels, right? But I don't see that.
Yeah. Can you scroll to the top on whoever's sharing the screen? I just want to clarify what you're saying. The very first paragraph.
275?
Yeah, on page 275 at the top.
Thank you.
So it just says property owner hereby grants.
Yeah, so just above that, the intent here really is, just above that City of Angels sewage disposal site is the legal owner on title of the parcel, and then that property owner in parentheses, in quotations, then describes like City of Angels sewage disposal site. So in other words, throughout the rest of the contract, just property owner is used to refer back to City of Angels.
Because it's on a separate line, it doesn't look like it goes together, so that's why I was asking that clarification. And
Gotcha.
then because on 11, it says if to property owner, and it lists Steve as opposed to like City of Angels. So that's
Gotcha.
clarification.
That's just a notification clause. I gotcha. So yeah, for the notification clause, we just have an individual there. And, you know, that could be whoever you want. That's just, you know, for certain notices,
Can we
as
just put
described
city
if we need to make a notice.
Can we just change that to say city administrator as opposed to a name? And maybe actually use, what is it, COA Rose as an email address, so that way that we don't have to change that. Those are my questions.
Okay. Anyone from the public have any questions?
Yes, now we do. Since you're flying in my backyard,
Yeah.
and I hate to be disturbed, but you, Mike, you already asked the questions I really had. The only additional one that I guess I'm a little curious of is obviously Whittle is the access to the school out there, and there's stuff going on as far as that school goes. What is wrong with the other entrance? Why the preference off of Whittle? Or is there a preference, or it's, can it go either way? Can it go on the Highway 49 or off the Whittle, or do we care?
So as it's proposed, they can come in either way, either off of Whittle or off of 41, off of 49. The only reason to potentially limit it only to Whittle Road is if there's a concern about the cattle getting out, that we can fence that area, that road, all the way up to the area. Where we couldn't fence the area, I mean, we could, but there would have to be a separate gate for city staff to get out when we need to get out. Because there's there's an access road that city staff will need to go to the north. You see where it comes down off of 49,
Yeah.
and it goes one way, but then a dirt path goes the other way. We could ask that both sides be fenced, and then that one where there's a dirt path, there's a gate so city staff can get through. Because city staff needs to still use this regularly,
Right.
that whole field, except for what will be a fenced-in area.
But access, how tough would it be to get access off of 49? Would that be an existing driveway that's there now?
Yes.
That's where that gate is?
Yes.
Okay. And I have to say, PG&E has done, and those folks around that gate have done an excellent job. Now that the gate is shut and the problem has been solved, so, but, listening to what Mike is saying, it'd be less congested if they accessed off of 49 and not go down Whittle because of the school and those other.
And I mean, obviously, this is me being very personal about it. The money to fix Whittle Road is gonna be a whole lot more difficult than anything that happens to the state highway.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And the access is there, and the gate's there, right, Chris? That's the gate that I see those people go through.
Yes.
Yeah.
And the last thing I'll say is, a lot of moms are talking to their kids in that stretch from right there to that stop sign. So, I just personally think it's better coming off the highway, but.
Do you guys, Trevor, or do you have any?
I'll defer to the project team. Trevor?
Okay.
Yeah, we can be open to whatever works best for you guys. I totally understand the safety concern, I think, of Whittle. I think our preference at this point would be off Highway 49 too. Understanding the gate issues and the cattle, I think we could work through that with our teams. So if that's your guys' preference, that works for us too. If you want to eliminate the southern access, we just kind of kept it open. I think both work for us. But if you want to restrict it to one or the other, I think we can work with that.
And it might be a better idea, I think during the summer months and things, that Whittle Road gets pretty busy with boat and recreational, so that might be something else to take into consideration.
For whatever reason, people don't pay attention on Whittle Road. I don't know why, they just don't, but that's my observation.
And they start going pretty fast, so.
Can I make a comment real quick?
Yeah, sure.
My only hesitation with the highway is you're dealing with a lot higher speed traffic and a lot more traffic entering and exiting onto a highway versus a minor roadway. I get there's traffic there and I get the school and all that kind of stuff. You're dealing with big, heavy equipment entering and exiting, pulling trailers, I'm assuming pulling trailers with equipment and all that kind of stuff on it, entering onto a state highway versus onto a public road is my only concern with that. And then the other concern I have or question is there any sort of, and I say this because the amount of money and time the police department put into building a road with gravel and rock from out to the range where we exist. We put probably $15,000 worth of rock on that roadway based on donation money that we received a couple of years ago to create that road or to make it more drivable. If there's any sort of maintenance agreement for that roadway, if they are going to be using that, I'm assuming that rock is going to need to be replaced or added to, annually for the next 3 years if that's the case. So just a request, I guess, to consider that on our behalf because we do use that road and would like to make sure that it's maintained.
Totally understood. Do you mind if I address that? I think that's a good point.
Yes,
I just want to make sure you can hear me, right? Okay, so we, as part of the agreement, we have a full restoration clause in there to address those concerns specifically. So basically, we promise we'll return it in the same condition as we get it. But I can promise you it'll be a much better, like a much more robust road that we need to build on to get the equipment out there safely to the actual LZ. So yeah, just to address that, there is a clause specifically in the agreement already referring to the restoration.
That sounds great, thank you.
Okay. Any other comments, questions from council members? Any more from the public?
Not to argue with my favorite person over there, because he is my favorite person, but there's about a 10-mile-an-hour speed difference, and they're gonna have to get on the highway at one point or another, so whether it's that gate or whether it's that stop sign, somehow these big guys are gonna be a dead stop getting onto the highway, one way or another.
And they've been doing it now with Tryon's piece.
Yeah.
When they've accessed that substation and all that work they've done there. Either way, it's not good, especially during frog jump.
I'm just not sure how much traffic they're actually going to have. Is it one truck at a time, or is everybody going to be taking off and there's going to be a train of vehicles leaving at 7 o'clock in the morning?
Like UPS?
Yeah. If it's staggered, it's not an issue, but if there's a line of trucks, I just worry about that. A little bit.
I take some notes, so I'll get back to Trevor, and then we'll make sure that all these concerns are addressed in the best interest of the city, and we'll do what we can to work with you guys to mitigate and all the concerns you guys just brought up. But I wanted to make a comment, just kind of introduce myself to the group here. My name is Eric Alvarez. I'm the PG&E Local Government Affairs Representative. Many of you probably knew my predecessor, Dylan George, who was in the role for 11 years. I just wanted to come up and make your acquaintance and introduce myself as a resource on all things utility, anything PG&E related, any line of business at council, since I work directly with local electeds at the city and county level, any line of business that you would like access to, I'm your go-to person to access those lines of businesses, whether it's veg, road restoration, undergrounding, projects like this, construction, what have you. I'm your resource to the city council and to your administration.
So not to put you on the spot. But there's the but's coming. But the but's coming. And I have not, pardon?
Is this part of the agendized item?
I'll wait till after there and then we can chat.
Well, it could be.
I do appreciate your emails when you're giving us a heads up
Yeah,
about
I
stuff
appreciate that.
and having access to you through that. So I do appreciate that. Thank you.
Okay. So any other public comment?
Are we holding on this agreement? Or are we going forward on this agreement? Are you guys going to massage this agreement some more and bring it back, or how are we moving forward with this?
I do have one other comment.
Okay.
In council on that. Since there were some questions among council for PG&E that kind of need an answer, coupled with the fact that I know Councilmember Beal was very interested in this item, it might be, I know PG&E wants to get this done as soon as possible, but their start date would be July 1st, so there's still time. So if we postpone this again until next council meeting, it would give potentially the full council an opportunity to weigh in on this.
New administrator as well.
And the new administrator, and get some of the questions that you asked today answered.
You know, it might be good if we talk with both Councilmember Brolio and Behill, so that those questions can be posed and we can see, so we don't do this again in March.
Before the meeting.
Yeah, before the meeting, so that there are, you can brief them on what we talked about and what we've suggested. And then if they have any other concerns, maybe they can be addressed when we come back. We don't do this and extend it the second meeting in March, if we could. Okay. So as I'm hearing it, there's a clause about gates and looking to access the property off of Highway 49 were the two main.
And then changing on notices to property owner and just having it be city administrator.
City administrator.
And then you
As
had-
opposed to a person.
You had some
And there's-
spelling errors.
Yeah, it should be.
It's not in the agreement, it's actually
Okay.
just in the,
Staff
it must, I'm guessing it's spell check that
Okay.
changes it from Angels to Angles.
Okay.
Yeah,
And the staff report, right?
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh, in the staff report,
Yeah.
not in the agreement.
I don't believe there were any in the agreement, but maybe just double check that to be sure.
Okay.
So were those the main points that we decided on?
Mhm.
Okay.
Mayor, did you want them to come back to with how many potential times the landing?
Yes.
Well, I mean, if you
The
could
flight
just,
path
yeah,
and the-
flight path, and if you just tell, yes,
Okay.
General, we realize that that might
Yeah.
not be
right.
exactly what it is.
Approximation?
Yeah.
Okay. So this item has been tabled with input from council members and those present and those
Do
online.
you think we're gonna be bringing it back at the next meeting?
Yes, please.
Okay, thank you.
So we'll move on to item I, approving a side letter with the Angels Police Officers Association for signing and retention bonuses. Steve?
Thank you, Mayor and council members. Before you tonight is a request to approve an agreement as a side letter between the City of Angels and the Angels Police Officers Association for both the signing and retention bonus. As you recall, we met in closed session in December and in January to address the issue of the police department's struggle, quite frankly, with attracting qualified candidates to our police department, along with some token of recognition and appreciation for those that are already with us and encouragement to stay with us. With small police force, when we have a vacancy, it's meaningful and it's not easily absorbed. When we have two vacancies, we start being very, very concerned. And we currently have one vacancy. We're anticipating a second vacancy towards the middle of this year. So we wanted to try to do something to encourage new applicants to apply to fill these vacancies while also recognizing and appreciating those that stayed. So what council approved was an entry level and a lateral signing bonus, $15,000 signing bonus for entry level and $30,000 signing bonus for lateral police officers. Lateral police officers are those that have already been to the police academy and that have completed a field training program. They've earned what's called a basic post certificate. Whether it's $15,000 for entry or $30,000 for lateral, those payments would be made over the course of 5 years with acceptable performance documented in their evaluation each year. So it's not $15,000 all at once or $30,000 all at once. It's broken into equal amounts over the course of 5 years of acceptable performance. We also asked and you approved the retention bonus broken up into 3 categories. Those with 1 to 5 year of service would receive a one-time $3,000 retention bonus. Those with 6 to 10 years would receive a one-time $5,000 bonus. And those with 10 years and more would receive a one-time $7,000 signing bonus. So since that direction was given during the closed session, our labor attorney has been working closely with our police union to work out the language that you see before you in the side agreement. The side agreement or the side letter also includes 3 exhibits. Exhibit A is the the entry level signing bonus. Exhibit B is the lateral officer signing bonus, and Exhibit C is the retention bonus. The labor unit has verbally agreed to each of those, and it's before you tonight for final approval.
Any council member comments?
No, I'm just happy to see that we're putting this forward because I saw that it was on the flyer already that's being posted out there. So I'm happy that we're finally putting this into action.
No, I was all in to do this. Our recruitment has been really, really tough. And so I feel like this, to be competitive in this market, we have to do this. because otherwise we will not recruit anybody.
And as I understand it, our current new recruit will also be eligible for this, correct?
Yes, thank you for giving me the opportunity to clarify. We're proposing that the signing bonus be effective December 15th, and that the retention bonus be effective today, February 18th. That would allow for our newest police officer that was hired, I think, on December 16th, to receive that signing bonus. And then any police officers that are currently with us, their calculation date for the 1 to 5, the 6 to 10, and the 10 plus would be effective today.
Thank you. Any public comment?
I absolutely strongly recommend we do this.
Thank you. Thank you. Rose, anyone online or through correspondence?
Nobody online, but I did receive a correspondence. It says, Dear Angels Camp City Council, I'm writing to formally protest the consideration and approval of Agenda Item I, which pertains to a side letter regarding the signing and retention bonuses for the Angels Camp Police Department. The manner in which these bonuses were approved in closed session without subsequent disclosure to the community is deeply concerning and raises serious questions about transparency and public trust. Government transparency is a fundamental principle of democratic governments, and it is unacceptable that decisions involving public funds, particularly those related to employee compensation, have been made behind closed doors without proper reporting to the public. The Brown Act and principles of open government exist to ensure that such matters are conducted in a manner that allows for public awareness and input. The failure to report this decision undermines the confidence of Angels Camp's residents in their elected officials and city administration. This is not the first time that something has been approved for the police department without going through a formal process. For example, police officers have been permitted to take vehicles home, which opens the city up to significant liability. Such decisions should be made with full public disclosure and consideration of their potential financial and legal impacts. Additionally, how is payroll accounting for police officers using the vehicles, considering this a taxable fringe benefit? While I recognize the importance of supporting our police department and ensuring that we retain qualified personnel, the process by which this decision was made is neither appropriate nor acceptable. I urge the City Council to defer approval of this side letter until full disclosure is provided to the public and possible community input is solicited in an open, transparent manner. I request that this letter be included in the public record and considered before any vote on this matter. Furthermore, I call upon the council to reaffirm its commitment to transparency by ensuring that all future compensation decisions affecting taxpayer funds are conducted in an open session with proper public notice. I would also like to remind the City Council that city's mission statement says to provide municipal services, infrastructure, and a high quality of life through trusted leadership, accountability, and efficiency for the benefit of our community. Decisions like these should reflect that mission. Thank you for the attention to this matter. I look forward to your response and to seeing the council take action to uphold the principles of open government. Sincerely, concerned resident. This was received today.
They didn't sign their name? Will? Are you there?
Will, can you hear us? We can't hear you. I don't know if he's talking. He had to phone in. He was having like all these issues.
Well, hopefully he heard the letter, because I would like for him to comment on it.
Would you like me to call him?
Yeah.
Have him on speakerphone?
I guess, I mean, if he didn't hear the letter, then I don't know how he can comment.
Hey, Steve.
Hey, Will, can you hear me?
I can hear you. I can hear you, you guys.
Okay.
You just can't hear me. So, I'm sorry. What is the, so the letter writer's underlying concern, this is a public document. It was, published in advance of tonight's hearing. It was considered publicly. Obviously, negotiations are something that can be done in closed session, which is, what happened. So I don't have any issue with that.
Great. That's what I wanted to know.
Thank you, Will.
Okay, thank you, Will. I'll keep you on the speakerphone for a little bit.
Great.
Any other comments from council?
No, I mean, I think not to, I see what their concerns are, and I do think that transparency is extremely important. And I will be the first to say that I was very irritated to see that we had put that on the poster before we had done anything publicly. So I'm assuming, and we should, what is it, never make a, or assume, we all know that saying. So I can understand why they would be frustrated, and I'm sorry that we have frustrated the public and not been transparent, and that was put out there ahead of time, and I don't ever want to see that happen again. And I know your time is coming to an end and we have a new administrator coming on, but I'm just saying that publicly because I was very disheartened by that.
Can I comment on that?
Go ahead.
That is 100% my fault. I knew that it was going out, and I should have had it wait until it was posted on Facebook we're talking about the signing bonus.
Correct.
So I knew that that was going out on Facebook, and I didn't stop it, and that is my fault. I can tell you that no funds have been paid, no monies has changed hands, but you're right, we should not have advertised it before it was officially approved at this meeting.
Right, or made any staff aware of that either, because I know that some of the police members had been made aware and they've been talking about it. And as we know, and part of our trainings is that the things that we talk about in closed session are to remain very confidential, so.
Well, it was discussed with the police staff during the negotiation process.
But still, that's neither here nor there. I'm just making my opinion on this now.
Any other comments? I appreciate the citizens' concern. However, negotiations do occur behind closed doors, and we report out the contract once the contract has been approved by both sides, and they bring it to us for a resolution. So, and I do believe if we're not competitive, we won't have a police force. So with that, I make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
Any other comments? Rose, anyone online?
No.
Anyone here?
Nobody online.
All right, roll call, please.
Sharado?
Aye.
Shemente?
Aye.
Moncada? Thank you.
And moving on to, thank you very much for attending.
Thanks for being here.
I will be giving you a
Let's
call.
grab a coffee soon.
I will, thank you, sir. Now we're going to move on to letter J, approve an amended employment agreement between the City of Angels and Pamela Coronigan for the position of City Administrator, Steve Williams.
Okay, thank you, Mayor and council members. The last item before you tonight is a request to amend an employment agreement which you approved at your last council meeting, which was February 4th. The amendment is a result of your new city administrator reaching out last week and asking to start a week earlier than what the agreed upon date. The agreement that you approved February 4th had a start date of March 3rd. On February 10th, which was Monday of last week, Pamela reached out to me via email and told me that she would like to start a week earlier. And so we worked with the attorney to amend, and it's actually a new contract, and the only adjustment is the start date. So it would have the start date be February 23rd instead of March 3rd, and that's before you tonight for consideration.
Any questions?
Yeah, I have a question. In the staff report, it says 23rd. Is that just because that's the start of a pay period, Rose?
That is the start of a pay period.
And then in the contract, it says 24. Does that matter that it's different? Okay.
No.
Caroline?
I don't have any questions.
Any questions from the public? Anyone online? Good, good. Again, Steve, as we start this transition, I want to thank you for everything that you've done, and we look forward to Pam coming on board and moving our city forward. So again, thank you. And
Thank you. Pam was actually in town today,
Oh.
looking around, so she's very excited to start. Yeah.
so is there a motion to approve?
Motion.
There's been a motion
Second.
and a second. Any other comment from public, staff, anyone online? Roll call.
Sharada.
Aye.
Shemente.
Aye.
O'Connor.
Aye.
Thank you.
Admin report.
Thank you, Mayor. I just have a couple. We have the fire chief
is preparing a fire-wise presentation for the council. You can expect that either the second meeting in March or the first meeting in April, and that's at the council's request, to bring forward information to determine at what level, if any, does the city want to engage in a fire-wise program. We also have roads, road maintenance, and the roads report that was already completed. I had intended to bring it at this council meeting, but I wanted to wait until we had the full council present so that they can get the benefit of that presentation. So I will encourage the new city manager to make that at the earliest possible time when she's comfortable presenting that information to you. We also have a State of the City address coming up. We've tentatively identified a location and a date, but it's not finalized yet, so I don't want to make that announcement yet, but we are working towards that. And then I'm happy to report that this week begins the full transition of the fire department to 3-0 staffing. So every day, starting this week, you will have 3 people on your fire engine. Your fire chief is occupying this office here in this building. And so that was good to see that we finally have all the staff on board necessary to transition us from 2-0 staffing to 3-0 staffing starting this week.
Thank you. Council report. Caroline.
So I had COG the day after our last council meeting, and let's see, Caltrans gave a report that they're doing a statewide 2024 rail plan with $307 billion, zero emissions, and it's going to provide 900,000 jobs. It's big. A highway resilience protect program of $176 million in grants, which are due February 24th. There was a campaign on keeping Calaveras clean, and they were looking for input on the name, and I just threw out a new one. We care, keep Calaveras clean.
Oh, we care.
So that was mine. And then lastly, I think the one item that everyone was really interested in was we were presented on an electric vehicle charging infrastructure implementation plan. And so there were a lot of questions about this plan that both Scott and I asked of this group. There's a lot of things in flux with the new federal administration, which is going to kind of trickle down into some of these things that are happening statewide for this. We also talked to them about, we have the police and fire department doing take-home vehicles. That was kind of a concern that wasn't implemented here.
Right.
They also didn't have the Arnold supercharger station in there, the Tesla supercharger station. There's concern about if we start switching over some of our fleet countywide, what about West Point? Like, there's no charging over there. So it's a slow go movement. The question was posed by Council Member B. Hill about what if we don't do this? What's the, who's been successful in fully doing this mandate? No one. And what would happen if we didn't want to do it? And they didn't really have an answer for that either. So anyway, they took back all of our comments, and obviously they're gathering more information too, just on some of the changes and what's happening. And they're gonna go back and make some changes and then come back to us. So, if anybody has any questions.
Do you have any questions? Is this an unfunded mandate? I mean, to me, what I worry about is, it's like the greenhouse plan that the
Right.
county had to adopt and we
Right.
adopted, you know.
Yes,
is
it is. It's
something that we just-
unfunded. Yeah.
It's unfunded.
It's unfunded, so, yeah, and then if you look, one of the questions too I had was that if we're funding an EV station at the old Napa and at the Utica, then how are we going to have all of our vehicles, our fleet vehicles being charged overnight and things like that? So, you have to take into consideration PD, Public Works, and at that time, they thought PD was moving, and that's also changed as well. That's not happening. So there's some things going back to the drawing board. They're saying start with your commuter vehicles, not your big trucks. And even with the big trucks, the mandates have changed, and you can't get some of these trucks either. You're waiting, 5 years for some of these to come off the line. So it's just, it's an interesting thing, and there isn't a lot of funding. Like, we would have to come up with all of this funding to do this as we change over our fleet. So
Are there any penalties if we don't? I guess that's my question.
I don't think so.
What was the timeline?
We have
Or
to
is it
start
like
changing over
open-ended?
hours by 2026, I think it is. But that could be like 1 or 2 vehicles. It wasn't, for us, it's not a huge deal. For the county, it's a much bigger deal.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, but even at the police station now, I mean, there isn't enough.
Yeah, phase 1 is 1 light duty and 2 medium duty and 1 heavy duty, so 4 vehicles by 2028. So it's not a lot, but I guess if we had a vehicle that needed to be phased out, but then you have, so when you talk about PD, you have to have the high voltage or the bigger kilowatt coming in so that you can do the supercharging.
Right, but I wish PG&E was here because the infrastructure at the PD's office right now isn't there.
Right.
So they have to bring in more power.
More power, and you have to, so we also
Yeah.
talked about the planned power outages, and what if we're in a planned power outage for 3, 4, 5 days, and you can't charge your vehicle? So then we talked about battery backup to then pull the power so that they can at least charge, and I mean, it's a lot.
It's a lot.
It's a lot.
It's
And
a lot.
we spent a lot of time on this in the meeting. This was the bulk of our meeting, was talking about this, and people had really good input on it. I brought up this, and
From the Ag Alert.
so we gave them a whole lot of stuff.
Good, I appreciate that.
That they need to talk about, think about, come back, and I don't know if this is gonna come to fruition.
So Amy, currently, if we have someone who wants to come in and put a motel in or something to that
Yeah.
nature, is there in the building code now specifications for charging stations?
But I mean, like if Frog Jump Plaza were to extend and they wanted to do
Right.
it, it's a boon to
It is a boon to
it's
them.
to them, because I have a Tesla, I have to stop. And if I have to stop for a half an hour, I'm spending money.
Right.
Yeah.
You're not just.
I'm not just
Yeah.
gonna sit there, I'm gonna go buy something.
Right,
So,
and I really think it would help us if we had charging stations downtown, because it would attract
Yeah,
people. I
right.
mean, so I think there's the pluses and minuses. I think what I don't like is how it's being forced on
right,
us.
I like driving an EV,
Right.
but I don't wanna make you drive an EV
Right,
or have the
right,
city be
right,
forced to drive.
right.
So it is interesting, I just think there's so much changing right now.
I do too.
There's a lot of
I
variables,
do
so
too.
we'll just
I
kind
do
of wait
too.
and see how things go, and we'll report back.
Thank you, and I appreciate, I think you kind of know where we're coming
Yeah,
from. And I
sure.
appreciate your participation and Scott's participation in this. Isabel?
Nothing to report.
Oh, I had another one too, at a FERC
Oh,
committee
FERC, I'm
meeting,
sorry.
sorry.
I didn't mean, I'm
At a
sorry.
FERC
I don't
committee
have anything to
meeting,
report.
I'm now new on the FERC committee, because I was on budget at
There was a FERC meeting
Utica, so we had a
a couple weeks
FERC
ago.
meeting. So there's a little bit of change in our timeline. We got thrown for a little bit of a SHPO came back and they're maybe making us do a whole bunch of studies that we weren't expecting to do,
Oh.
that have to be done in
No.
order to get the exemption for the 2 hydro plants, and they're expensive. So when I go to DC next week, I'm meeting with FERC, and I'm basically gonna say, look, considering that, you know, if we were to go in front of you today with these 2 hydro plants, and we wouldn't even have to do that because we wouldn't qualify, we'd have to just be under the state watch. Do we really have to do this, SHPO? Do we really have to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars to do that? So that's the question I'm going to come at them with, because I don't want to spend the money. I don't want our community to spend the money. So if we don't have to do that, we're not going to do that.
How does that affect our timeline?
It will affect our timeline to putting in the application in the spring to putting it into the end of the year.
Oh,
Wow.
gosh.
So it's a big deal too. It's a big shift.
Wow.
So we're putting out some bids on some of these. We're looking at, you know, we're looking at what we can do if we have to do it, what we can do to save some money. So we've appreciated Stantec along the line on this, but maybe Stantec isn't the least expensive route to go in for this particular piece of it, and they know that, and we've talked to them about this, so this isn't something that they'd be surprised by. So that's just one of the other things. I'm going to also meet with the head of the U.S. Forest Service, which is a big deal, and we're going to talk about not mitigation, but like what can we do with our forests to really get some of this under control. That it's dependent on it. On our water conveyance system staying healthy, and we don't have redundancy, and so what can we do in the Forest Service? And you know, one of the things that I think that we need to take a serious look at is going back to logging. So
I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
no, there's a lot of great stuff that can come from that, but we're gonna have some pretty big conversations when we're in DC, and so I'm gonna be pretty busy when I'm there.
I appreciate your
But,
efforts
yeah.
with that.
Good.
Steve, were you going to have a comment about electric vehicles at that point? I just saw maybe you wanted to.
No.
Okay. I just want to make sure that. if you
Anyone
have
else?
Something.
Amy?
Amy.
Future agenda item, we will be talking about an electrical vehicle charging station.
Perfect.
Proposed.
Perfect. Thank you. And
I'm good, I don't have anything to
all right,
report.
I think we should start off by saying that we were at Avelino's when they
Oh,
did
yeah.
the
Oh, yeah, we
opening.
did that.
I didn't get to make it.
Oh.
But it sounds like
What do
it
you-
was a good event.
Oh, okay.
I texted, but I
Yeah.
guess they didn't.
Yeah. But it was a wonderful event, you know, it's another new store downtown, and anything downtown that's brand new attracts those folks who want to go there to everything else that's downtown, and truly appreciate that. Our restaurant has opened up, the Bistro, and I was a little concerned about the morning traffic, but if you go down at lunchtime, it seems like it's jam-packed, so we're excited to see
In the
that.
mornings too.
Yeah, the mornings is getting a little
Yeah.
bit, maybe I just go too early. Also, I had the pleasure of talking with our museum committee, and it's a very interesting group. It's the first time that I've attended the foundation. It's a foundation, correct? And they would encourage our new city, and we talked about Pam coming on board. And I would like to see Pam attend the meetings. Not so much, I think, I know if input was given about what the city's doing, but I think just to have a presence, because you know what they are doing is running our city museum.
You just have to be careful, and I work,
Right.
because I work with the FBI in my day job, and I'm in the nonprofit sector, we've had to separate them
Right.
out from our board meetings, because you can't have a government entity telling a nonprofit
Right.
that's in your city and that is renting
Right.
from you, you cannot dictate to them how to do anything. So you just have to be really careful. If she wants to just sit there and maybe give an update on the city, that sounds great. But that's one of the reasons why I stepped back, because
Right.
I was dealing with that on my day job side
Right.
and the legality of
Right.
it.
I think, you know, I appreciate the comments and the suggestions to Pam. I think her presence there,
Yeah,
saying
that's
nothing,
fine.
but
Just
would be
but be
good.
careful,
Right,
because
and I think we
it's a
can,
fine line.
right, and you know,
Yeah.
you can talk with her
Yeah.
and she can talk with Will, but I think it would go a long ways if we were there, just sitting quietly having a cup of coffee and just hearing what they're saying. Okay.
And also, just, is that the best use of her time?
You know,
I'm just saying, 'cause
I'm not sure if it's the best use of her time,
Because
but
if you
for
go
that.
quarterly, that's also gets the point across. I don't know that we need her to go monthly.
I agree.
Well, I'm fine. I'm
Yeah.
fine as long as there's a presence. You know, I'm not, I don't know, it's hard to measure what somebody's best use of time is when you're with the public and engaging the public and having the public know that you're concerned and care about what they're doing. So however many times that happens quarterly, I think it just would be a good thing. We're on item 9, correspondence.
So I did receive, and Mayor Shemente received the same letter as well from Lori Giannini regarding the frog jump parade, asking for the waiver. So I did check with staff to make sure that she did receive the proper forms that needed to be filled out, and she did. They have been completed, so we're moving it forward.
So Chris, how close are we to getting a boom truck? Are we any closer?
Not at this time, but
Okay.
it's something I will be coming to you with on our next year's budget.
Oh, good.
And I thought Alvin had a solution.
I don't know what his solution was.
I think he knew someone who was trying to get rid of one.
He had one. He mentioned one.
Yeah, he mentioned one.
I'm very leery of getting somebody's used equipment. If
Yeah.
we're gonna do this, I would suggest we go with something new.
Yeah.
So
And you'll bring forth
We're
something.
not taking on somebody else's headaches.
Yeah.
And that's something that we can use enterprise funds for because it could be used there and maybe fund a multiple funding source for it.
Yeah, I'm sure I can figure something out.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you. All right.
I have a quick question for Amy, just with the signage that she mentions in that letter. Once the park is open, is that when we'll be pushing, not pushing, but letting people know that that's their other option for hanging banners or signage?
We actually will be installing those after the park opens.
Okay.
We have to get them manufactured and then we will
Okay.
be letting people know.
Got it.
So maybe by June or something, we'll have that available? Or?
I don't know if the schedule's going to be on constructing that.
Okay.
Moving on to calendar.
Did UWPA reschedule?
Yes, sorry, so UWPA is not happening on the, I can't see it from here.
From the
25th?
25th?
Right, because both Joel and I will be in DC. I think we're just gonna skip from February.
Skip February?
Yeah.
Okay. So I made a note on there that no date yet.
So wait, I just have a question.
Yeah.
So am I assuming since I've not received an agenda packet that
This one?
counts, yes, Central Sierra?
You haven't gotten any, I sent you an email. I forwarded an email to you.
That I asked if I was gonna, I thought it was just to respond if I would attend.
And you haven't, I'll reach out to them for you.
Okay, I mean, shouldn't I have an agenda though? before we
Sometimes
go?
there's a link in there to click to the agenda on the invite.
They were just
But maybe not.
inquiring though if they
Oh,
were
I
gonna
see.
have
Oh, yeah.
enough
They
of a
cancel
quorum.
a lot of meetings.
Okay.
Yeah, they do. They do.
They cancel a lot.
So, if Steve, you can let me know when we're gonna be doing that state of the city, so I can add it on to here. And then we're moving into March, so.
And then I'm gone the first week in April, so I would love if we could do the Firewise, not the first meeting in April.
Okay.
The only other thing that I haven't added is, with Pam coming on board, staff was already scheduling a meet and greet breakfast on March 7th. So I just want to let you know that we're gonna do that, meet and greet with staff. And then, also a potential farewell to Steve. That's the time that we are gonna cut our ties and, have it here. And we determined that the fire association is gonna be cooking breakfast for us.
Pancakes.
Yeah.
I know those guys.
Yeah.
They're great.
Okay, future agenda items. I would like, and I will be meeting with Pam when she comes on board to bring forth Steve's agreement to continue with the mentorship through April. And then, and Will is here, and I know that we could, Pam can talk with Deb. I'd also like during the council meeting on March 4th, 3rd? 4th, to talk about specific tasks that we'd like to see Steve also take on. But again, we need to bring his contract forward, his consulting contract, so we can work through, as we decided, through at least April, but maybe take on some other tasks. And also, Scott, council member Brolio wanted me to ask you about Finnegan Lane Gate. I drove down there today and the gate was closed, but he's had a number of people You guys are both smiling. A number of people talking about they're pulling the gate off the hinges, cutting locks, you know, maybe, go ahead.
We're working on it.
Okay.
That's all I can say. We're well aware.
Okay.
I met with people from, there's a big issue with that property because there's multiple easements that different groups have right and access to, and identifying if it's one individual, which individual, who's doing it. Gate gets left open, now everybody's using it, you know, that kind of stuff, so it's
It feels like for about a year the gate was open,
yeah.
so.
Apparently they're worried about the degrading of the roadway due to the amount of traffic that they're responsible for maintaining. Some of the property owners are responsible for maintaining with excess traffic using what is basically private property to cut through to Finnegan. So it's been an issue off and on forever, I think, but it's more recently become an issue because somebody or some folks have decided to get a little more aggressive with it and cutting locks and lifting the fence off the hinges so they can get access through it at least once.
So when you come down Finnegan Lane by Chris Vopiano's, that really becomes private property. So the public is going through private property to access.
Yeah, and the only people that should have access to that are I don't know what the property lines look like there, the easements that have been provided, because I think they're easements that were established before Greenhorn Creek was even put in. So there's multiple residents in that area that have an easement, either all of or a portion of that driveway. So it's confusing. It may be residents that are using it. It may be, you know, citizens who really don't have a right to use it. We don't know. So, and we've seen people driving through it, and you know, we're not going to stop every car because somebody used it because it's somebody was given, you know, and then it's my property and I gave my friend permission to use it.
Yeah, that's what you're going to hear.
There's not a whole lot that we can do unless we want to, you know, do some sort of more hard closure on it so people can't access it.
That'll be part of our traffic mitigation report when it comes time.
It's also part of our Angels Creek Trail.
Trail.
Oh, good.
Oh,
Great.
okay. Thank you. I'm glad you're aware of it. I will, if you see Alan, if you share it with them, yeah.
Yeah, we've talked to a couple of residents, concerned residents about it. And I know we've been out there the last week or so as much as possible, just watching to see what's happening. And we found the gate open and people are using it because the gates are open.
Yeah.
Any other items? Thank you for bringing forth, waiting for Scott to be here with the road thing, and as soon as Pam gets up to speed, that would be good. Any other items for our next meeting? Steve, are we pretty much through that list of items at some point? And then when Pam gets here, I mean, I wonder if it would behoove us, as just the three of us, to maybe do a kind of a study session, just to talk about goals and what we see. I mean, I keep circling around when I hear about fires, heritage roads,
You
and
did mention
things like
at the
that.
last meeting
Did
that
I?
you wanted a strategic plan goals.
Right,
meeting,
setting,
like,
so that we can talk.
Yeah, and that would be good when she comes on board, that we can.
Okay. So that we all can not have her go in 14 different directions. Good. It was my suggestion, just before we leave, to have Will not travel. I was trying to save a few dollars. I'm not sure if it worked or not, the communication with Will. And I was gonna, and Steve and Will and I talked, and depending on the agenda, it'd be whether or not Will could come via, be here online or being present. So I don't know how this worked out for you folks, if that was okay for you, for him being here, virtually as opposed to in person.
I think it's a good idea. I mean, it's 2 hours in the car each way for him.
Yeah.
He probably appreciates not having to do 4 hours in the car today. I think there's definitely going to be meetings where we know we need to have somebody here in the room.
I agree, and I think having him online is good.
Yeah.
So, well, let's leave it up to our city administrator to make that decision then, based on the agenda.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I didn't think, we needed him here today, but maybe it would have been good. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. Every time we think we don't, we do, right?
Yeah.
That's Murphy's Law.
Yeah.
All right, hearing none, I want to thank everyone for being here. and sharing either online or in person. And this concludes our meeting for tonight. Thank you for joining us.
Motion?
Oh, a motion, I'm sorry. I was so, it's only been 2 hours.
I'll make the
That's-
motion to.
Second.
Isabel did.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Who's second?
I did.
Okay. Sharada.
Aye.
Shemente.
Aye.
Moncada. Thank you.
2 hours, that's.